It's Darcy Castro from TML TV. I'm here to invite you to the Magazine Lifestyle Spring Launch Party and Charity event. It's taking place June 3rd in Nashville, Tennessee at Gavin DeGraw's Underground. Join us for celebrity appearances, a New York fashion show, food, signature drinks. Stay tuned as we reveal all our headlining acts and the legendary musician who's going to be gracing our cover. Join me on the red carpet. There's still some sponsorship opportunities available. And of course, you'll be able to catch it all on TML TV right here with your host, Darcy Castro. This fun, COVID-safe event is a benefit for Steven Tyler's Janie's Fund. You remember that Aerosmith song, Janie's Got a Gun? Well, now Janie's got a fund. And girls that have suffered abuse and neglect now have a safe place to go and programs just for them as they transition out of the foster care system. So join us, put your dollars to good work for some of our community's most vulnerable. Make a donation today straight to Janie's Fund at themagazinelifestyle.com and buy tickets for this event. Join us in Nashville, June 3rd for Rockin' for a Cause. See you there. Hi there, welcome back. It's Darcy Castro, your host from the Magazine Lifestyle TV. We like to talk inspiration here at the magazine, and I've got a really special guest with us here today. Stephanie Golub is the principal of the League School in New York City. They've been around since 1953.
That is true. We've been around since 1953, correct.
1953, so that's over, and you've been there for over 40 years, am I right?
Yes, I have. I have been up there for over 40.
And you guys serve disadvantaged children in Brooklyn, but it's you're based in Brooklyn, but it's all over the New York area. Is that correct?
The school is located in Brooklyn, but we accept students into a program from all 5 boroughs of New York City.
And that's over 118 kids that you guys serve every day?
During the pandemic, it's a little bit, we still serve them, but some of them are remote, whatever, but that's about the typical number that we do serve.
Right. Okay. Well, you guys are committed to improving the lives of children and adults with psychiatric and developmental disabilities. It sounds like you guys are really doing some amazing work there. Can you tell me a little bit about who are the students that you serve at that school?
Right. Well, since you mentioned students and adults, I'll tell you that we actually have 3 separate programs. We have a therapeutic preschool, we have a school-age program, and we have a large adult program. So we actually serve over 500 clients with 300 staff.
Oh my goodness.
I am just going to be talking today about my love and my program, which is the school-age program, which has that number of students that you mentioned from all 5 boroughs of New York, ranging in age from 5 to 21 years of age.
Wow, that's a lot bigger than that scope is a lot bigger than I realized.
Right, because we're part of a larger agency called the League Education and Treatment Center. But the school that was founded in 1953 is the original program that was founded by Dr. Carl Fenischel at a very, very, very interesting time in the history of developing special, methodologies and interventions for special needs children.
Interesting, because it's the first of its kind in the country.
It was the first in its kind to really understand the need for a fully integrated team approach to working with students originally who were diagnosed with autism. Now we serve children who have all kinds of mental health, behavioral, social, and communication issues. But at the time, it was really a groundbreaker, and we're still really known for working with that integrated team approach that Dr. Fenischel pioneered.
Oh, wow. I've read that you've been in this position for over 40 years as the principal, or with the school for over 40 years, and now you're the principal.
Correct.
And it sounds like your leadership really has been instrumental to furthering these educational and mental health support services, and that you've expanded the programming to include a diploma-bound high school program, a vocational training. That is really, really something that you've been there for that long and you've had all those wins. So you tell me, tell me about the students that you serve there, and what does a student win look like to you?
Right, right. Well, the student population has shifted a little bit since I started. I started actually working in the mid 70s at the League School because it was like a groundsbreaker. So initially the population was primarily students that were having, communication issues, and they were at that time classified as autism. Currently, we are serving students, as I mentioned, 5 to 21, who have significant mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
So these are students, most of them coming to us, who have already been in other educational settings, whether it's preschool, school age, hospital settings, who have a really strong history of failure in the public setting. So these are kids that are coming to us with Access 1, psychiatric diagnoses, students who already are suffering from school failure and behavioral social issues, and really needing a place that is both an integrated educational and mental health program.
Wow.
That's the piece that makes League School so unique, that we're both a New York State licensed educational program, a school, as well as a New York State licensed day treatment program for students with mental health issues. So it's a fully integrated, blended program that's really just built into the fabric of every day.
Right. How have you and your students really worked to overcome the challenges that have been presented by the pandemic?
The pandemic has been very challenging. When we first had to pivot to fully remote in March of last year, we really were mainly concerned how students who depend on consistency and depend on daily mental health services would be able to, make do. And because a large percentage of the families at League School are students who have either fiscal or family issues, we had to come up with a way to ensure that 100% of them had access to the kinds of mental health and educational services. So the League School figured out a way to supply every single student with a Chromebook, every single staff with a laptop, every assistant with an iPad, and to ensure that students who didn't have access to Wi-Fi would be able to. So we really currently are back in the building, and we are one of the few programs in New York City who are offering 3 options for intervention. 5 days a week on site for kids who really, really need it. We offer a hybrid program of 3 days a week for 2 different groups, or a fully remote program. But regardless of the academic model, 100% of our students are still receiving ongoing mental health services, whether it's in the building or remotely.
Oh well, congratulations, because I can imagine that this has been in what felt like an insurmountable mountain at one point, but that sounds like you guys have really have experienced a lot of wins in that department, and I commend you. That is fantastic.
One of the issues that I think is really, really important is the focus on mental health at this particular point in time. So that, we are hearing, and data is showing, the increase of mental health issues across the state in, when students, particularly depression, suicidal ideation, isolation, and that, the recognition that this program is so vital, and programs just like League are very vital for children, particularly at this point. And we are really proud to say that because our students do get that mental health daily contact, we have not really seen an increase in additional mental health issues that our students were actually facing. So we're extremely proud of the work that we did during this time.
Such an important component, truly. It's my understanding that inclusive education, or you will, or this type of special education was not something that was readily available for many, many years. And the thinking about inclusion outside of the school setting, what can your experience and your students teach the rest of us about the importance of inclusion?
Yeah. Well, day treatment like League School is meant with the philosophy is always to integrate the students back into a less restrictive environment, whether it's educational, whether it's onto higher education, whether it's into work in the community. And that is a very, very big aspect of the program. That we're always looking at what we need to do to keep these students either academically great abreast or in terms of mental health so that they can ultimately reintegrate back. And we do have a large number of students doing that. But I think the biggest thing that we have found, besides making sure that academically they're given their adaptations, is that we do use a trauma-informed and a restorative model of mental health intervention, which is always really looking at what it is that that child needs to make repairs, to have naturalistic consequences, to be able to experience what's going on and to blend that in. But we also make sure that, particularly for the adolescents, they get a lot of community involvement, doing a lot of vocational work in the community. And yeah, we have a lot of fantastic work sites in Brooklyn, working at museums and botanic gardens and giving them opportunities to have that vocational experience, to see our students in the community and to be successful, and for other people to see them as successful as well. So it has been really wonderful over the years for me to see the changes in attitude. At one time, these students, people weren't really looking at could they earn high school diploma, could they be independent on the workforce, and could they be successful, even transitioning back into the public school sector. And our kids are very, very, successful, or in finding the right community fit that would be good for them to transition from League School to. And it doesn't need to be at graduation. It can be when that student themselves, when the team feels and the family feels that that student is able to integrate back into the community.
From my perspective, your passion is so evident and obviously has fueled you and is such a benefit to your school and your students. But tell me, what motivates you? What motivated you to get in this field, and what motivates you to keep going?
Yeah, I had started being interested in this field for as long as I can really remember. Reading books, like Annie Sullivan, helping people that, no one thought could be helped. When I was just a teenager, I started volunteering, working with autistic children. But a particular interest was when I was in graduate school and I learned of the work of Dr. Fenichel, because at one time they really thought that children like this were the result of, and it's a laugh now to think of it, but indifferent and cold paroenting styles.
Right.
He was really one of the first people, I know, he was one of the first people that really saw that there was some kind of a neurobiogenetic kind of component to what was going on. And when I went for my interview and saw that on this team were not only teachers, but psychiatry and social work, psychology, creative art therapists, vocational people, educators, it was really, a privilege to have the opportunity to work in this program. At that time, it was like the cutting edge, and still the cutting edge of how to work with children persists in that model even today. Wow. So, I've never lost the passion, because the field is constantly evolving. The field of mental health, the field of education, and can we keeping up with the challenges that we're facing each time? And I also do think, one of the things that's promoting us now is we really don't understand yet the long-term impact of children on having a year or a year and a half of social isolation, of years with losses, of losses of family members, of losses of friendships, of losses of academics, of families who have financial issues. And that the issue of integrating mental health into the child's everyday fabric of life, into education, I think is going to be an issue even moving forward that is even more and more important than it's always been. So, I just know that programs like League, are really vital. They have been in the past, and even I think more so moving into, getting our students and our children back into schools.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because definitely the mental health component for all of us is very important, is absolutely very important. And you talked about this large team of specialists that you have. It sounds like there are so many different types of therapies and specialists that work with your population. What would you say to young people that are in school, that are considering their career paths? Why should they consider special education?
I think about that a lot because we aren't dealing with thousands of children, we're dealing with hundreds of clients. And, when thinking about what I tell people and my years of, over the course of time, I've supervised many, many people who are in the field that go out and tell me what they learned was, indispensable. But sometimes just thinking back, maybe we only have 110 students right now, but over the years, the impact that you could have, that sometimes a small accomplishment is much larger in impact than one would imagine. That you're not only impacting the child, but their families, but the generations of young other people that you're supervising who really can go out and do different kinds of things for the field. That sometimes just like working in a small environment could have a much larger impact than you think. And it has been for me, I think that as much benefit that I have done for these kids is as much benefit as that they have done for me. But it has really been a gift and a privilege all of these years. And I think that that is a big thing that people should know. In 45 years of working in the same place, I never really felt like I made a mistake or this wasn't for me or that the impact for each individual child was not a monumental accomplishment. So, I think that's the biggest takeaway that I have from working in this field.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I love to hear your perspective from that, from the inside. Um, that is really special, truly indeed, that line of work.
Thank
And
you.
I can imagine it
Thank
is a
you.
calling from the heart. And um,
I didn't think so when I was young, but looking back now, I think it totally was.
yeah. What would you say to a parent who is just facing a diagnosis with the child and that, is realizing maybe the plan that they had envisioned for their child is not going to come to fruition and they need to go down some alternative routes? What would you
Yeah.
say to encourage that parent?
I think that each child, is very, very different, but I think that I could never lose sight. We are a trauma informed program, and trauma is not just to that child, but also to the family, the grief of hearing a diagnosis like that. And really, I guess, helping that family kind of for themselves kind of find a hope for themselves, what it is, to find out what they're wanting, that what could we do as a program to figure out what would make that family feel a moment of joy for that child, a vision that is small term and not looking at the bigger picture for now, and that every moment of accomplishment is a joy, and never to lose sight also of the family becomes in a program like League, they become part of the client. Like they are part of the program. It's not that you're working with that child in isolation, that the family is part of the team and working with them to see what it can do and to know that every little accomplishment, is a big accomplishment. And some of them are really, really big accomplishments. We do have students who are able to go back to college. We have students who are able to be very, very functional members. And the main theme is to be a functional member of your family and a joy to the people that you live with, and to help the family just kind of help us figure out what they would like to see for their child.
Yeah. I just got like the heart butterflies hearing you describe that. What a beautiful perspective. But before I let you go today, because I have taken up a lot of your time and I appreciate that, Stephanie, what challenges is a school facing that you'd like us to know about?
Yeah, I do think this is a very, very critical time for programs such as the League School. As it is, you could imagine having the team of psychiatry, nursing, creative art therapists, an unbelievable CEO, a whole, staff of people. That funding is always a big issue for us. But during this fiscal time, it's even a larger issue because we did have to figure out ways to provide all of those additional services, mental health services, additional technology, additional support for families, PPE, keeping everybody safe, keeping up with the regulations, so that while programs like League School are even more critical now than ever before, it is a time that all of us are really facing very, very difficult fiscal times. And that, we do want people to know about programs like League, to understand the need to infuse mental health more than ever into the programs, and for people to be out there and really support the challenges of mental health, whether it's for the preschool age kids, school age, and even for our adult population who do have mental health needs. And it is a very hard time, but a very, very, very important time for people with mental health issues.
Agreed. And thank you so much for sharing that and for being with us here today, Stephanie.
Oh, you're very welcome. I enjoyed it. Thank you. And thank you for hearing and taking the time to, really champion the rights of people with mental health challenges.
That's right. That's right. Let's put our arms around this community.
That's right.
Listen, folks, thanks for being with us here again today on the Magazine Lifestyle TV. I hope you take away a little bit of inspiration from our discussion today and that you'll be back with us next time. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me.